Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. I'm so sorry. I had to update the app.
No, it's okay. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Um,
Good.
I adore you on this show. I love the show so much to begin
Oh,
with.
thank you.
And I just think that your character is like the purest, sweetest character, and I just love you. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
yeah, you're welcome. If I can sort of start off with like a general question before we really go into some specifics about the season,
Yeah.
really like that your character is like sort of very uninhibited about sex. Like she's a young woman who likes sex. She's vocal about it. She's proud of it. Can you sort of talk to me about being a character that is that uninhibited?
Yeah. So when I first got the script, when I knew I was going to play Amy, and I saw the opening scene of season one,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I couldn't believe. I was like, gee, great, great.
Just
Um,
diving in, just going right
yeah.
for it.
Boom.
Yeah.
First TV job, brilliant, but I kind of, and I remember reading that first episode in isolation and thinking to the rest of the series and thinking, well, she's very confident and she
Mhm.
seems to be having a whale of a time, which seemed to feel to me unrealistic. And I was worried because I thought I've seen so many sex scenes in films and TV where the girl is having a ball
Mhm.
when the guy is just kind of, plugging away, not really taking into account her body and her pleasure, but they're pretending to have a great time, and all
Right.
those scenes always irritate me. And then when I got the rest of the series and I saw the arc that she went on,
Yeah.
and I saw that, actually that first scene was so realistic to what a lot of young women do, which is, it's all about the guy. Make sure it looks like you're, sexy, and she's being so performative, and she's probably watched a bit of porn and
Right.
tried to reenact it. And then when I saw that, she goes on this journey where she discovers masturbation and her own pleasure, and it empowers her so much. And so I think she does become complete, like that wonderful. Her inhibitions at the beginning are, she's kind of pretending to be uninhibited, she's
Mhm.
performing, and then actually she empowers herself so much that she does become truly, a kind of sexually liberated, confident woman. And actually it made me as an actor so much more confident, because when I saw that I had to do that masturbation scene and everything, and I saw the angles and how kind of unflattering they were, and
Uh-huh.
and I was kind of like, the vain part of me was going, oh, for God's sake, why does it have to be so real and unflinching and, unflattering, and I'm wearing these hideous pants and I'm, all that stuff. But actually doing that was so cathartic. It was like, it just made me feel so free, and the response was amazing. So I think, yeah, playing such a, a kind of, because what I love about her is that there's a lot of things that people, kind of judge her for, i.e., her intelligence or her lack of, or, her kind of ditziness. But actually, she's got so much self confidence, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that. She doesn't, I've been guilty myself of being of self berating and really being harsh on myself. And there's something about Amy that I think, like, she prides herself on being a good person, and she's a sweet person. And I think that, yeah, that in a way has just given me as an actor a lot more confidence. It's been such a gift playing her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something that I just think is so like even if she says something where she doesn't know something and someone like corrects her or something, I just think that's such like an admirable quality that she has. Like she doesn't get like she doesn't take it as like an affront if someone corrects her. Like she's very self-aware, and that's what I probably me and a lot of audience members really respond to, that I just think is really lovely.
Yeah.
So sort of diving into season two, at the beginning of like your character's arc, which is so heartbreaking, um, just the scene on the bus where you're standing there, you're holding a cake, and it happens, and you announce to everyone on the bus that, you know, what he is doing. and no one does anything. And I watched it again last night. It is so infuriating that no one does anything. Can you sort of talk to me about filming that scene? What was sort of like just being in that moment, because you are by yourself. No one is with you. And I sort of wanted to know, just as a general thing, did you do research just on like trauma, like just about that scene? Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah. So it was actually, you know, I met the guy who plays the man who commits the assault. I met him beforehand, and we really had a nice chat, and we kind of spoke through it, and with Sophie, who was directing the episode, and we kind of discussed what we would be comfortable with and what we wouldn't be comfortable with, and he was so supportive and lovely, and I think it was quite daunting for both of us, you know. And I didn't expect it to have such a, I mean, when you talk about, I did do a lot of research, but at the same time I also used my own traumas that I've been through, and it was surprisingly you know, and I spoke to my friends about it, and it's rife, you know. So it was the research kind of came a lot from my own experiences, and I'd been through something remarkably similar, like eerily similar, when I read it. And I think that, you know, it was Laurie's story, her personal story, and so that meant a lot. And also just hearing all my friends it turned out that pretty much every single one of my friends had been through something similar, my female friends. So it felt like quite a momentous, when that day was coming up and I knew I was filming that scene, it felt quite overwhelming, and I really, really, really wanted to do it justice. But it was tough, you know. It was technically tough because we were filming on a bus, so we had, I had to kind of figure out how to be on that and be, so it was kind of, there was a lot going on. I had a cake in my hand, but I think all of that stuff really kind of helped me get into that place, because it felt so real. Like, even down to like Amy's bus pass, you know, I opened her bus pass and there's a picture, Amy Gibbs, the bus pass has been made, you know, the art department, with little clips in, like hair clips and receipts, you know. It all felt so real, like the world felt so tangible, which made it just felt extremely emotional and real, and I was so protected. I mean, Sophie, who was directing that episode, she kept checking in. Everyone in the crew kept checking in to see if I was all right. And I think the supporting artists on the bus, they found it so hard to not, because they were all saying, you know, they were all challenged. Everyone was challenged, because they were going, if this was me and I was seeing this, though, I would step up, you know, I would step in for this young woman who's getting, but actually, you know, there's been countless times, and I've heard of people, you know, on, say, the tube, and someone's rubbing up on them and they call it out and everyone just turns a blind eye. I think it's heartbreakingly realistic that nobody steps in. And actually, though, that part of the scene upset me more than the actual act, because, and I feel like that is actually what upsets Aimee more, is that, yes, she goes through this horrible incident, but the fact that nobody helps her is what really shakes her to the core and goes, I had such faith in humanity. She truly believes that most people are good, and yet nobody did anything. So it's like, you know, what is my view of the world just completely wrong? What have I've been living in a lie, you know?
Yeah, it's sort of, I remember being very shocked when I first watched the series, just obviously of the incident itself. And then when I watched that scene again last night, it just made me so angry that no one would step up and help her. Yeah. I mean, there's actually something very interesting about, like, when you go home and your mom tries to, like, get you to hang out with her. And then even in the scene where you go to the police, you say to the police officer, and you say to Maeve, I'm fine, honestly. And it sort of reminded me of, there's another Netflix show, Unbelievable, where one of the other characters who I had the fortune of interviewing as well, she actually not like had the same reaction, but it's the lines were almost similar. She's like, I'm fine. Can you sort of talk to me about like the escalation to that Aimee goes through with that? Because when she's with Maeve and she's with the police officer, she's sort of saying, I think you say, I'm probably wasting your time. And then
Yeah.
she's alone, it really starts to hit her harder.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was so important for me to keep that Amy-ness, you know, that she would, her first priority would be to protect. She wouldn't want Maeve to be upset that had happened to her. She wouldn't even want this policeman that she doesn't know to be upset. She wouldn't want to waste anyone's time. She wouldn't want to impose.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, that kind of thing, that she doesn't want to take up too much space and too much time. And that's kind of, I found that so relatable. You know, I feel like there's kind of a hierarchy of sex crimes, and if something comes up near the top, then you feel permitted to be upset about it. But then a lot of everyday things that happen consistently, these non-violent things, or just catcalling, or people making women feel scared and feel alert. We're constantly in fight or flight. Even when we're walking down the street, it's like you feel like you have to keep an eye out and keep your guard up all the time. And it's kind of, because we don't really talk about it, it's kind of just the message that's sent is it's part of being a woman. It's kind of just something that you have to grin and bear and kind of suck it up and get on with it. Don't waste people's time by, that boys will be boys. It's all that kind of stuff. And I think
locker room talk, like, oh, that's, boys are just fooling around. They're playing.
Exactly. It's harmless. It's harmless. Yeah. Some things aren't harmless, but that kind of thing is harmless. So I think she just kind of goes, well, he didn't hurt me, and it was a bit gross, but it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And please, guys, don't get upset, because I'm absolutely fine, which I think is a very female thing to do, which is making sure everyone else is okay and accommodating everyone else's feelings before she actually then shuts the door at the end of the day. Even with her mum, when her mum calls her in and she's like, yeah, I don't know how I lost my jeans. I don't know, oh, bye. And she shuts that door, and it's like, I don't think she even knows why she's crying at that point, though. I think it's like a release of tension. She's been holding it in all day, and I think she finally just releases. And I think she's probably, at that point, she's confused because her body is kind of 10 steps ahead of her brain, and her body is saying, you've been traumatized today, and now we're going to cry about that. But her brain doesn't understand why she's been traumatized. She doesn't believe that she has been, because she's not been taught that could be something that would traumatize her. Yeah. So that kind of thing, I really, it was a great thing to act, was that kind of delayed, the processing, the time it takes to process, which is so true to life, because a lot of us will go through something and it won't actually come out, or it won't be processed until a much later date, when we finally, it clicks and we go, that was wrong. So that was a really kind of that scene where she shuts the door, but I felt it, I'd done the scene with my mum, there'd been another scene that I did with my mum that didn't actually make it into the show because of time and story. It didn't quite work, but I'd done those two scenes that day, so I felt very raw. And so when I shut that door, I was like, oh my God, I just need to release this thing. And so it was all very kind of like, it felt very close to home, and it felt very immediate. And that made me, obviously it was quite tough to do, but I had a lot of support. But it was also, what was giving me hope was, I'm thinking, well, if it's kind of costing me something, then it might actually, then I might be doing the story justice, Yeah.
And I guess sort of talking about towards the end of the season, I think it's so interesting that scene in the library where all the other girls share their experiences. It's sort of just in that moment, the hierarchy of the school that we see usually through the series is sort of wiped away, and you all come together. It's a really beautiful, really lovely thing when they all come and sit with you on the bus. can you sort of talk to me about filming that day, because that is just a really tremendous moment.
Yeah, I mean the library stuff, all of us were talking so much about the subject matter that it kind of was so like, just, it was art reflecting life. Like what we were doing in that library on that set that day was basically what the girls end up doing in the scene. So it felt very kind of, and it felt very empowering. I mean, when we were all walking down the steps of the school after that thing, we were all like, we were pumped, like we were fueled up. It was kind of amazing. But then, yeah, the bus scene, I mean, we were all in tatters. We were all so emotional. And I remember Ben, the director,
there's like almost no dialogue either. Like you're just sitting there together.
It's sitting there, and the power that I felt between us, and like Ben, the director, he was in pieces. The DOP was in pieces. Like we were all so emotional. And we did film that really kind of late on after all the other stuff. So it felt quite kind of linear. It felt very much like, which was really helpful, because when it got to that bit, it was very much like, this is the climax of Amy's storyline, and it felt like that as well in real life, because we filmed it late on. But it was so, I mean, Emma, who plays Maeve, it was kind of like, we both couldn't stop crying, because we were just like, you know, so there. But we had to kind of think about the scene, and like what was real for the scene is that, you know, we wouldn't be that emotional. But it was in the directions, Laurie wrote, you know, Amy smiles through tears. She's different now, but she'll be okay. And that was when we were like, but it was such an it was probably my favorite thing I've ever filmed, that bus scene. And like you said, barely any dialogue, you know, it's just a stupid bus. It's just a stupid bus. And that's it. And then when I saw it, when Ben had put that song on it, the song that he'd chosen, I thought, are you trying to kill me? Because it was so perfect. And I felt so honoured. To be a part of it.
You brought up Emma, who plays Maeve. I love the relationship between you two. I like how you sort of like push and pull each other a lot. Like even just in like small things where you're trying to get Maeve to admit that she actually has feelings for Otis.
Yeah.
Can you sort of talk to me about the relationship between the two of you?
Yeah, so I just love Maeve and Amy's friendship so much. I love Emma, so it's such a delight when we get to do stuff together. We're always so excited, and we were so excited that season 2 had so much of it. But I think it's just kind of, you know, on paper, they should not be friends. Like, you would think this kind of hyper intelligent, clever, bookish, like cool, rebellious, badass girl, and this kind of space cadet who's just kind of walking around, you know, but yet they just, what their cores are so aligned, because I just think it's such a joy, because they're just good people. Like, they are underneath all of that stuff. You know, I feel like when you're young and you're at school, you make connections based on such shallow things, like we like the same music, and we wear the same kind of clothes, and we like, you know, we like the same films. And actually underneath that, core values and what you believe in is the thing that really is about, you know, they're soulmates. That it's so much, it's way less about any surface crap, and it's all about their souls and their cores just being aligned. They have some kind of connection that other people probably look at and think, what? But Maeve is just so protective over Amy. And I love that you barely see Maeve smile throughout the series, but then when she's with Amy, she'll always smile. And it's like, you know, it's just such a beautiful friendship. And I've not really seen it. Like, when I think about it, I'm like, I've not really seen that many female friendships portrayed on screen that are like that. You know, they're never competitive with each other. They're very much different in an obvious way, but they're just so connected, and they just empower each other so much. You know, Amy looks at Maeve and thinks, God, she's a superhero. She stands up for herself. She's so strong. She's so tough. She knows what's right and wrong. And Amy thinks she's lacking that, but she's not. She's got all that, but it's just Maeve that's helping her bring it out. And then vice versa, you know, Maeve looks at Amy and goes, how can she be so optimistic and, you know, and hopeful and positive and see the good in people? But actually Maeve's got all of that as well, but she also needs Aimee to help bring it out. So they're just kind of, they look at each other in admiration, and actually I think that's just such a wonderful thing.
And it's sort of like a relationship between two young women where they don't have to explain why they're friends. They just they see something in each other that they can relate to. There's like an honesty between the two of them that, like you said, like the core values of them, they appreciate that honesty, and they don't have to like, well, I'm friends with Maeve because of this, I'm friends with Aimee because of this. Like it's just it's very natural and very organic.
That's so true. They never explain it.
Yeah, you don't, and I don't think, we don't even need it, because I think we just love them together. Like I love the scenes when you go support her at the quiz head matches and you're just screaming and just being a really supportive, lovely. Yeah. I guess just a final silly question to sort of ask. I love at the end of the season where I love Aimee and Steve. I think they're just the cutest couple. He's a dreamboat. I want to know if Aimee is still baking, or if she hopes that she is going to still bake, because at the end of the season, you give Steve like a cupcake.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know, because that was sort of an ambition that she takes on in the second season.
Yeah, I don't actually know, and I really, really want her to carry on baking. Yeah. And if it's not baking, I want her to be good at something. Like people say, where do you want Aimee? Like, what do you want to happen for Aimee next? And I just want her to be good at something, and to know that she's good at it, and believe that she's good at it, because I think it will give her such confidence, and it'll be so nice to see that she has a passion and a talent. And maybe I think it could be baking. You know, I can totally see Aimee having some kind of like baking show when she's older, wearing like a gorgeous pinny. You know, her outfits would be completely amazing, and I think it's a great thing for her, because as well, baking and cooking, you know, it's such a way to express love, and she's such a loving person that I think it would be a great outlet for her. And I don't think her cakes look that bad.
I don't think they do either. I do a lot of baking myself, and I even just like the piping that she did on that cupcake that she gave to Steve, I was just like, that looks better than anything I can do. So
I really appreciate that, because I agree. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all I have for you. Thank you so much. I love the show. I want to actually, because I was watching some scenes yesterday, I want to like restart the season. I just think it's such a great show, especially for young people who don't have something like this that, you know, encourage them to embrace themselves and embrace their sexuality. And I think your performance in the second season is really exceptional.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I hope you stay safe, and hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye. Bye, invisible person. Bye.